Live. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Matt with Other Side of the Selfie. I got Jesse McKeehan on with me tonight. I'm going to try to jump on here real quick and get myself launched and live and connected. We're going live from the business page, or the Other Side of the Selfie page tonight, so hopefully folks are with us. Make sure I don't get myself in. There we are. Let me go here, share that out. So real quick, thanks for everybody joining us tonight. Got two Ohioans on the call tonight, so we're excited. Go Ohio! And there we go. Other side of the selfie. Right. All right, man. Cool. So, if you're new to us tonight, thanks for joining. It is, we're actually like 6 or 7 weeks into this, which is pretty cool. Just started after the first of the year, but Other Side of the Selfie is all about bringing together the husbands, spouses, girlfriends, boyfriends of folks in the network marketing, multi-level marketing world, and just kind of bringing us together. And for those that have challenges, those that have questions, those that might be concerned, or they have a partner that's involved in this stuff and just curious to see what's going on, what does it mean, and we try to get some folks who have some experience, both some that we have had multiple years, some that have only had a few years, and so it's a good range of stuff. And our goal is to just bring you ideas, suggestions, assistance, advice, all that kind of fun stuff. So like I said, tonight I've got Jesse McKeehan. His wife is a part of Unique, which is what my wife works with as well. And Jesse, how long, I'm going to have you start, when did you, well, let's start with family. Let's start who you are, where you're from, wife, kids, tell us all about that kind of stuff. And then we'll kind of jump in with how long you've been in, has your wife been in, or maybe, I don't know if she did anything before Unique, but how'd you get started? So start with the family. Give us a little background.
Family, okay, who I am. So starting out, once again, my name is Jesse McKeehan. I am husband of Krystina McKeehan. She is an exclusive or black status presenter with Unique. And, we're a family of 5. As I was telling Matt earlier, I've got 3 kids. So I've got a little girl, 3 years old. I have a little boy that is 6 years old, and a boy that's going to turn 10 this March. And so family of 5. My wife, Krystina, she is been in the company for about 3 years now. And so network marketing is something that isn't completely new to us, but it's new to us as of 3 years ago. So my wife was never in any other network marketing background or even marketing background. How we kind of got into it, obviously was watching other friends, and learning a little bit at a time. Who we were before that, though, is my wife was actually a master stylist. So she was a hairstylist, cut hair, graduated from Aveda, did really well with it. She was really good at what she did, really good at her craft, and really enjoyed what she did. And then I'm myself, going a little bit about me. I'm the typical guy's guy. I work with my hands. That's what I do for a living. I am a construction guy. So actually I own a company myself. It's a post frame building company. So I build custom pole buildings is what I do. So building for, equestrian facilities, garages, things like that. So usually people see me on the internet every once in a while and they assume that I sit in an office and this is what I do on the daily. But no, I get dirty every day. As a matter of fact, every day for the past 2 to 3 weeks, because it's been so rainy, I've been spraying mud off my pants every day so I can put it in the washer. So I'm just a typical guy.
Nice. And I don't know, did you say where you're from? I know we said Ohio before, but...
I'm sorry, yeah, Ohio. So I'm from a town called Morrow, Ohio. For those who don't know, Morrow, Ohio is a suburb of Cincinnati. So there's parks around here. Kings Island is obviously pretty familiar with most people within the region.
Yeah, sweet. Mm-hmm. We're a little bit closer to Cedar Point. I don't know if you ever made it up here, but if you're a big roller coaster fan, Cedar Point is awesome.
Kelly's Island. We were
Awesome.
just at Kelly's Island not too long ago. We stayed
Oh,
with
very
some
cool.
friends up there, and I
Yeah.
could see Cedar Point, but we didn't go to it, which
Right.
sucks.
Well, you'll have to get up. Yeah, you'll have to get up. We go every summer. My wife Ann her family has a cottage in Port Clinton, which is, I don't know where you took off to go to Kelly's, but right around where the Jet
That's right where
Express.
we're at. I'm actually a season pass holder, believe it or not, of the safari right there in Port Clinton.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah,
It was cheaper to buy a season pass, so I bought one for my
awesome.
family. With buffalo heads on our windows and everything.
That's cool. Outstanding. I have avoided, I know we're going off topic here, but I have avoided that place with my life. I can't stand animals licking and sticking their heads in the window. I mean, all that stuff. Ann and the kids will do it, and my mother-in-law goes with them every year. They go down to Amish country and do it. But I did a trip. There's the deer park, the deer park that's also around that area. I went in the deer park, and there was a blind deer in that thing. Our daughter was a baby in a stroller still, and this deer could smell the food, but couldn't see it, and so kept bumping into the back of me, like was coming from behind, just with its nose, like just trying to get to the bag of food that was in the stroller. And then I was afraid that they were going to eat my child, and I mean, it was just a nightmare. So I've avoided.
That was memories, Matt. You need to go again.
It was. I mean, Audrey she had to be 2 years old, something like that. So that's 17 years ago. That's as long, and I haven't touched those things ever since. So
man,
I try to stay away. But Cedar Point, on the other hand, all about the roller coasters and stuff. So
I hear about it all the time. I got to do it.
That's awesome. All right, cool. So back to the real reason we're here. Thanks for dealing with us on that one, folks. So Jesse, tell me a little bit about, you said, Krystina, right?
Yeah, Krystina.
Krystina was not involved in network marketing before. She was a hairstylist, so that's pretty cool. What was it that got her into or got her interested in network marketing? What did you think when that first started happening? And just kind of tell me the progression, maybe the first few months of when she jumped into multi-level marketing with Unique.
Yeah. So, when it came all to the network marketing thing, I guess what really happened is her upline is Megan Dashley. So a good friend of ours, and she was kind of watching Megan, do her thing on the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, talking about, all the trips and all the things they were getting. Obviously, they obviously put all the glam on there for network marketing. Everyone does, right?
Right.
And so we saw that, and my wife's very studious, so she came in and we were at a point in our lives to where, even though I own my own company, she made smaller paychecks, because if anybody knows anything about hairstylists, they don't make big bucks, especially starting out, and it takes a while to build your book. And so really how it all began was, it was one of those things. My wife made just enough, more or less, to pay for our childcare for the week, and she did that really because people were like, well, just stay home, because you're breaking even anyways. And she actually worked to keep her sanity, you know what I mean? So she had to give the children away. She wanted an identity other than just mom. So therefore she went off, she did that. So she was kind of breaking even, and it was a point to where I made decent money, but it felt like, with the lifestyle that we just have a certain lifestyle we like to live, unfortunately. We're not minimalists in a way. I like to think that I am, but I guess we're not. And I felt like every time I made a paycheck, I was literally handing it away. As soon as I got my money, I'm like, crap, the mortgage is due. So there it all goes. Got to wait till next week to get some cash. So my wife saw this happening and saw that it was a way initially to make supplemental income. Supplemental income from anywhere. That's the beauty of network marketing, is that it can be worked from anywhere. So she saw that, she got into it, and she started to study the platform of MLM. How did it all work? And especially, specifically Unique as well. So she got into that and learned a little bit more about its platform, how it would work around her schedule. So she signed up under Megan and kind of started off, on fire. She started off on fire, and that's how my wife starts everything. When she does anything, she dives in deep, and she's. You always hear the words actions talk, bull crap walks. Well, tons of people say they're gonna, if I get into it, I'm gonna hit it hard. You hear that all the time, and then they peter out. Well, my wife is the opposite of that. She really does, and I mean, she goes in deep. So when she went in it, as anybody does when you get into any business, you know, you can start a hot dog stand, you hit it hard, and you kind of become incognito for a little while, to where she was hitting it so hard to where she was just always, you know, in her business, I should say. And so, you know, she got into that, and myself, I'm really oblivious as a guy. My wife could literally, she's like, "Do you notice anything different about me today?"
Most of us are, yeah, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, "Your hair?" And she's like, "No, I got my nails done or something." I'm like,
Right.
"Crap, I can't." I don't
My
notice
wife knows.
anything.
My wife knows nothing about that. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I
And
notice everything.
so I handled her business the exact same way. And unfortunately, I hate to say that I'm so blind sometimes to just about anything, it seems like, you know, and so I handled her business that way. And so for a while, it just went on to where she's like, "Hey, babe, you know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that." And I'm like, "Great, good. Awesome. Sounds good." I wasn't against what she was doing because it made her happy, and anything my wife wants to do, I'm usually for it, you know? I'm like, that's
Yep.
cool. Because she's had several other ventures, not network marketing, but just, you know, her own little biz ventures that she's always done.
Okay.
I could go on forever. But so that's kind of how it started for me.
And you were self-employed at the time?
Yeah, I've been actually self-employed for 13 years now.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
yeah, I know that.
Family business.
Timberline buildings.
Okay.
Timberline buildings. So that's how it started. That's kind of how I felt about it when, you know, and I knew a little bit about network marketing because, you know, I studied marketing back when I was younger and wanted to go into college and do all that. And it's just something that was always intriguing to me, but I was walking with a blind stick there and not really paying attention to my wife. And it wasn't until she sat me down one day and really expressed her goals to me to where I really understood where she was coming from and what this whole thing was all about. And from that point on, it kind of opened my mind and I don't know, really gave me a sense of who she was and what she was about to do. It was really cool.
Do you mind sharing? Is that okay to share some of those goals? Is that too personal, or is that okay?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
Absolutely not. Man. These goals, some of these are very easy, blatant goals I think everybody has. But
okay.
So goals that we had. So, you know, getting down and being as transparent as possible. You know, one thing that we always didn't have quite secure or really a good grasp on was retirement. I'll say that. So we didn't have a good, we saved money. We put money back in savings. We did the Dave Ramsey emergency fund thing and all that. Everybody hears about that stuff, Financial Peace University, blah, blah, blah. But we really didn't have a good grasp of where we're going or where, you know, if we had finances that were going to last us or if we knew how to have finances to, you know, pay for a cool trip or anything. We just had no grasp of financial freedom at all. Right. And my wife said that I want to be able to bring in a monthly income that will relieve or take the stress off of you as far as after you're done paying the bills, you feel like we got money to do things, have fun, live our lives. But also, you know, what I want to do with this business is I want us to feel as though we have something to look forward to in the future, and retirement is one of them. And I started that to me really impacted me because I'm like, that would be great. You know, I know that I can make money. I could probably put it away, but I just never had a true plan. And my wife, fortunately, had a plan. And this money was going to be an answer to that. So that was one of the goals. Another goal of hers was trips, vacations, family time together, memorable trips, you know, not just trips, you know, down the street like weekender trips, but just something that we actually go out and explore the country and explore countries. And she kind of detailed these for me very intimately and telling me that this is what she's going to do and this is what she's going to obtain for me. And it got me excited, you know, because I've never really had it laid out for me in that way, you know.
So at this time, was she jumping? Was she in her mind thinking, "I'm going full bore"? I mean, this is it. I'm leaving the hairstylist business, or was it still okay? Okay, so she said, "I'm going all in, and this is what I want to do." Yeah,
I'm going all in. This is what I want to do because this is it's a format of which she can freely express herself, kind of break the shackles of what came with being a hairstylist, which is your prime time of a hairstylist is the weekends, because
Right.
that's when everybody has their free time. So they're off work now. They want you to come in. They want you to cut hair then.
Yeah.
The shackles of having to work late at night, because that's when everybody gets off work. That's when they book their appointments. So we knew that there was a better way of working a business in general. We knew we wanted to free ourselves of that, and she wanted to free herself of that. So yes,
Cool.
she was going all in.
So how quickly then as she jumped in, and I know you said she kind of dove in, head first kind of a thing, or 2 feet at a time, or whatever you want to say it. And how quickly did she start seeing results from it? And then when did you recognize as the partner that something was changing, whether it's financially or whether it was her confidence level, whatever may have adjusted in her life? Like how quickly did you recognize that, or how did that happen?
To be honest with you, it happened to me very quickly. I mean, probably within 2 months is when 2 to 3 months is when it really like flipped over. About that 3 month period is when it like really came home to me. But looking back, I mean, obviously, hindsight's 20/20, right? So when we look back, I'm like, wow, the immediate difference. And that in confidence is a big one I see in my wife, that she is so much more confident than she's ever been, because of her social interaction that she's had through this particular industry. But even financially, I guess she always says this all the time too. She says Jesse really came home and was really into it after he got back. It was an incentive trip. It was actually Jamaica a few years back.
I
Which
was there.
obviously
Yeah.
marketing companies they do incentive trips, and that really like amps you up. But what was so amazing about the incentive trip wasn't necessarily the destination. Jamaica was awesome, but it was the people. And what was so great was it was people, whether they were successful or not in the company. I mean, obviously they made it to that incentive trip, but there were people that were like-minded as far as they were aspiring to be great. And that's what I love about it. Whether no matter what you think about network marketing, you have to give everybody credit for the fact that their aspirations are there, and that's contagious. So I was around a bunch of people that were aspiring to be on the top. How awesome is that?
Yeah.
That to me felt great. So I was like, this is great, man. I love all these people. They're all happy. They're all
Right.
having a good time, and they're like excited about life. And they're not
Yeah.
like coming to me and saying how much life sucks, because I don't know, it's wonderful. So that was a game changer for me to be around all those people.
Cool. Yeah, I think the people, and I would totally agree. I was on that trip. I think that was our first trip as well. So Anne's been in. I think she's been 4 years now. So she got it in 2014, and so made. I think it was that, which is probably around the same time. It sounds like Krystina got in. So that was our first trip, and I think for me too, it was the same. And Anne would say that once we got a free trip, free cruise to Jamaica, that hey, I'm all in, right? So
a believer.
and it certainly helped, and I think that was a big part of it. But I think a lot of what I saw, and you mentioned too, the confidence piece. I think she came out of corporate world, had been working for the same company for 10 years or something like that, and prior to she had done actually a couple other multi-level marketing kind of things. So in my world, I had kind of been there, done that, right? So it was like, okay, this is just another one. And like you said, I've always been all for her doing whatever. When she worked in the corporate world, it was great. She supported me for a while as I was starting some of my business kind of stuff. But then when she got into this thing, it was a different, the unique piece was a different experience altogether. I think it changed her world. I think the confidence level, the fact that she was not just selling stuff, but she was helping people. She was helping to build confidence in other people. And so I think for me, I think that was a huge deal. And then I think the trip was just a explanation point, or whatever, that was just kind of a piece that said, boy, this really is cool. And I think seeing what I also felt on that trip too, was I heard Derek's story, and I heard, a lot of the background of what the company is about. And I think that for all multi-level marketing companies, I think everybody's got something, there's something that drives that passion around why they're doing what they're doing. It's not just to make, well, at least the ones that I've seen, they're not just there to make money. There's some sort of a passion behind it. So I think that's neat. That's neat to see. So how soon did you get in? I understand, you get fairly involved in supporting what she does. So tell me, how soon did you start, like helping, supporting, and what are some of the things that maybe you started doing? And then what would you say, what's changed? Do you do more now? Do you do less now? How do you get involved in what she's doing?
Yeah. So, I started getting involved in her company probably, I want to say about 6 or 7 months into the process of her doing what she does. Obviously, she established herself fairly quickly, but, until I fully understood where she was coming from and how this all worked and everything, and once again, took those blinders off, that's when I decided that, you know what, I need to stop seeing this because I wanted to help my wife. So many people want to help their spouses in their industry all the time. And of course, you don't know what to do at first. So you try to do all the basic stuff, and you help watch the kids, or take the weight off of them in some scenario where you're running makeup, or you're running a plexus, or whatever you guys do. You run that stuff out and you do all the deliveries, and that's kind of the basic stuff that a lot of people start out with, which is great, and it's definitely a good thing. But I was so sick of feeling as though I was just the spouse, just the other guy, And so I know that you've heard in a live that I've done before that I don't consider myself a supporter necessarily anymore. I consider myself now a marketing consultant for her company. I'm an active partner within her business because in the end of all things, all this income, at least from my perspective and my wife and our perspective, we share the same money. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if I make it, she makes it. We throw it all in the same pot. We pay what we pay, and we go from there. And so I started thinking, well, we need to share this business in a perspective, because two minds are definitely greater than one. And I started to think, what if this were my company? What if she wasn't the one doing this and I was the one doing this? How would I operate? How would I help? How would I help lead others into becoming successful entrepreneurs? So the first thing I did is I actually stepped in and I started doing lives with her, and I started to think from a marketing aspect, how can we groom the people from which are in her industry to become better marketers, have a cleaner Facebook page, a cleaner presence within social media platforms. So I started to work with them and just really familiarize them with me and who I am, and let them know who I am. And that I wasn't just the other guy, that if they had questions, they would get used to me chiming in. So she put me in her groups, and I would chime in, I would answer, because sometimes, obviously, when you grow and you do become that successful individual, there's a lot of women. As you probably know, your wife has probably a lot of women. I mean, if you got more than 20, it's actually probably hard to keep up with.
Right.
And so they may ask a question and you might not have the availability to do so. So I'm going to ask the question. So how can I ask these or answer these questions? I familiarize myself with the business, with the product, with the industry in general, so that I can help them answer these questions. So I started becoming more of a kind of a PR/help guru of her groups. And then it started to mold a little bit farther into working on my own self-image. I always say all the time in most of my lives that your image is her image and her image is your image. So if you start to garner what you want to garner, which is exposure, people are naturally stalkers in general. We stalk each other's Facebook pages all the time.
Absolutely. Right.
And when we do that, and let's say she grows popularity, which is what we want her to do, people might become fascinated with what they do. And so what are they going to do? They're going to look at who the heck she's with. Who's this guy she's married to? And who's her partner? So, I make sure that my image is clean. My image is projected to complement her image. And vice versa, she makes sure that her image complements mine. So I started to make sure that my Facebook presence was known, for one. So I build my network, as well as I make sure that I have a clean network of people that we can help, and create value for. And so
when you first started doing that, was that something that you guys said, did you come to her and say, hey, I want to do more than this, and what can I do? Or did you say, hey, here's some suggestions that I think you should do? And did she accept that well? Was there any kind of I don't want your help, or I got this, or you don't know, what did you feel from her as far as that jumping in? Or was she like, all good, come on, let's do it?
Bring it on. Well, I'm pretty good with people in general. So I approach my wife just like I would anybody. I don't come at it as though I didn't come and approach her as if I'm coming to, hey, we need to do this. You know, if you want to grow, this is where you need to be. That's almost a slap in the face. It's a challenge to the way they're running their business. Obviously, she was successful without me. She probably doesn't even need me, I guess, quote unquote, but she could use me. Let's say that. I wanted to present myself in such a way that I would be an asset to help her grow, not make her grow, if that makes any sense. And so when I came to her, I wanted to let her know that I want to be more involved and I want to be able to help her in any scenario. So first I asked her, what could she use from me? You know, obviously that's something that was important, because even though I think I might have good ideas, she may have, you know, areas of need that need immediate attention. And so she gave me a few things that she was struggling with or needed help with, and I found a way to do the research on them because she didn't have time to do so, such as how to be more effective even in, well, this first one was Instagram, hashtags, how to use hashtags, how to become more effective on Instagram, how to put your image out there. So for a long time, I actually used to work her Instagram for her, or I guess in tandem for her. So I don't want to save all her Facebook fans out there that you're talking to. Not, but I would.
I tricked you.
No, but no, in general, I would help her work it, and I'd help her girls understand too. So I would come up with apps that I would research and be like, okay, these apps are effective for Instagram, and then I would share them with her group and put that kind of stuff out there. So I would try to pick up on her weaknesses, because you know, it's funny because we always talk about working on our weaknesses all the time, but you know, studies will prove that if you work on your strengths more than your weaknesses, you actually show more productivity. And I know this
to take the weak parts. Yeah,
exactly. So, you know, make your strengths even stronger and you will become more productive. So I said, you keep doing what you do. Do what you do best, and that's great. You know what I mean? And I'm going to do what I do best, and I'm going to take your weaknesses, because that's kind of what I am. I'm a worker. I like to get in there and research and take something and build it up. You know, I'm a builder. So I took her weaknesses and wanted to help her with those where she didn't have to take her focus off her strengths. It's more or less what I was doing.
Cool. That's awesome. Now, you're obviously self-employed, but the business that you're in wouldn't, well, I could say, hey, you know, I do online marketing, so that's a different thing. But did you, like, you came into this, did you know this kind of stuff already? Did you just research it and say, here's what I think I can do? Or like, how did you bring to the table that type of knowledge and expertise? Or did you just kind of learn it as you're going on and then share what you learned? How did you bring that in?
A little bit of both. I mean, I'm a big believer in trial and error. You know, it's one of those things that I think makes you effective. You find out what's good, what's not. You know, you put it all out there, you try all avenues, kind of thing. But I like I said, I come from somewhat of a marketing background. I deal with the marketing for my company as well. See, the buildings that I sell products that are anywhere between, let's say, $15,000 to $250,000. So I have to convince somebody to buy $250,000 building from this guy. And at the time, let's just say I've been in the business for 13 years. I am 32, getting ready to turn 33. So what's that mean? They were trying to buy a $250,000 building, yes, off of a guy that at the time might have been 22, 23 years old. How did I do that? So I take my knowledge of what I've learned and how clients react, and how, you know, how do I approach them? Who do you approach, and how do you learn people? Because I've learned mannerisms from certain people, prospects, so to speak. And I can tell there's 4 to 5 different classifications of people out there. So I try to break down, who do you become more aggressive with? Who do you need to hold the reins on? And I try to explain this to my girls. So I use my own marketing background for what I do, and I try to apply it to her company as well. And then obviously, you know, self-development, self-education, of course, getting out there and personal development, and trying to, you know, YouTube videos is always good. Google, I love Google because it'll tell any question you have. You can type it in your own words, which I love, because somebody else out there thinks just like you and wrote a blog on it. And so therefore, I've taught myself that way too.
So what are some of those? I know you said you talked about like sharing apps and other sites and things like that. So what can you share a few of those things that maybe some of the folks that are watching, let's say I'm a boyfriend or I'm a spouse of somebody, my wife is doing whatever kind of direct sales. What are some of those things that you've found have been most helpful for, whether it's related to social media, whether it's for running the business, whether it's for organizational, whatever, any of that kind of stuff? What would some of those suggestions be?
Some suggestions. So for somebody starting out, what would be an easy one? An easy one's actually, if you want to get out there and you want to make your stuff pop, I guess, easy stuff, easy apps to talk to people. I always try to tell people with social platform, if you're trying to put yourself out there, put your wife out there, a lot of people, the biggest thing with social media is a lot of people like to put regular text comments out there. They're constantly like, hey, check out my wife. She's awesome. Go click on this link. That's the biggest thing I see all the time. That's a big no-no because it usually gets bypassed, as we all know, in the algorithms and Facebook in general. So one thing that I always love to do is anytime I'm going to put anything for support out there, I always put an image, and I always usually put some type of personal touch on it. I like to use word swag a lot. I know this is really girly. You ever use word swag, Matt?
Yeah, I use it. Yep.
Yep. Word swag's a big one. And so we all use it. It's so simple. We don't even think about it. But word swag, so if I have quotes or I have anything I want to put out there, I use word swag as a big one.
So so word swag is an app on your phone that it's like $4.99, I think. It's actually a paid app, but it's way worth it. I mean, it's just, it allows you to type in anything. You can pick your own pictures, or you can use pictures that they have embedded already, and it's extremely easy. You can do it on the go, type in a few things, gives you a couple options. I mean, it was one of the first ones that I actually used as I got into that type of thing. Canva is another one. I don't know if you've used Canva, Canva.com.
I do it all the time for my beginners.
Yeah. So wonderful, easy imaging kind of app, both on the computer as well as your phone and things like that. So cool. Word swag is great. So I kind of wanted to just make sure that everybody knew what word swag was.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so that's an easy one. Obviously, Magisto, Viva Video, if you ever want to make videos, put your life out there, put things together really easy. Magisto is probably the easiest as opposed to Viva Video, but once again, those are video apps that allow you to put pictures into I guess like little collages, motion picture collages, however, and I think those are always neat. It's always cool to put that kind of stuff out there. Content is always fun to see. People love content. So those are the apps I started using as far as just promoting.
Yeah, as you started, so let's say what you've done specifically. So I know you've helped with some of the training and things like that from behind the scenes with your wife's team and that kind of thing. But as you, like, some examples of, and I think so, where I met you was through the Husbands of Unique group, right? So there's this group that's over here, and I would say that there's a lot of folks that are in that group. And just as a little shout out to that group, Husbands of Unique, I think it's called Upgraded Edition or something like that, is the Facebook page. So if anybody's watching this, Sheldon and Kai and those guys are awesome. So I'm going to pitch that. And I'll also pitch the fact that I'm going to be on their show tomorrow night. So tomorrow night at 9:00. Husbands of Unique. But I think that is a good deal whenever you start to see other husbands, boyfriends, significant others, and you say, hey, I'm seeing what they're doing, and it's creating or it's helping and producing success, both for what they're doing, but also for what their wives are doing. I think it's neat then to kind of capture and start to see, hey, look at that other guy who's supporting his wife, and look at that other guy, and look how what again. We can only believe what we believe as far as what Facebook is all truth, but to see, hey, boy, like you guys were just at the black status, even, so for us, Anne's reached orange. And so, we're still striving for that level. So I think it's really cool to see. And I think that's encouraging for those that are on the outside, right, that haven't quite made it to that particular level or whatever, to see that. So I think it's cool that you share those things and you share, hey, here's me with these guys, and here's me, with my wife, and how cool it is that we got this thing. And then you connect that back to, us as a couple, we're doing this together and that kind of thing, which I think is really cool. Mm-hmm. So what would you say? I mean, obviously there's been some challenges, I assume. So what would you say have been, either early on or even now, what do you think are the biggest challenges that you guys have addressed together, but then also maybe as the spouse of somebody involved in network marketing? What are some of those challenges you've been?
Yeah. There's a couple challenges along the way. Obviously, with anything, you're always going to have your challenges, your hiccups, and all that. My wife and I are really good at working them out, though. For the most part, we've always been good as far as talking things out and trying to understand one another. The first challenge that I had with network marketing in general, or unique or what have you, was understanding the value. Understanding the value was hard for me because once again, I didn't do my research, and tangibly, I didn't see anything on day one. Obviously, you don't see anything on day one usually. So understanding the value of what was to come, I just didn't understand it in general. So, that's why I had my blinders on, is because at the time I was just thinking, yeah, like you were saying, I've seen some of these other network marketing companies and people go in, and obviously we all know that network marketing carries probably the largest turnover rate out of any industry in the world. But, but it also carries some of the largest success and people of successful or business in the world as well. And that's just a true testament, obviously, of who's willing to work hard and who's not, as far as business in general. And that's what I've learned. So the value of it is that when obviously the Jamaican trip, and then started seeing, mortgages being paid. I tell people all the time, I've not paid a mortgage in years, which is wonderful. But it took me a while to see the value, and I just didn't understand the value either of what was possible. And obviously, I'm not going to share any numbers, but what I will say is that the sky truly is the limit. And Matt, I know you know what I'm talking about as far as this industry. The sky truly is the limit, and it's simply amazing what it can do if you're willing to work for it and get it out there. And then
I think I would say that second part is the most important of what you just said, right? The sky is the limit, but you got to work hard, right? So it's not a get rich quick, easy, hey, I'm going to jump on this train kind of a thing. It's all about hustle.
Lottery ticket.
Yeah, it is hustle and lots of work, and it doesn't come right away all the time. Some people get it, some people don't. Some people takes longer, some people shorter. So comparing yourself is not a great way to go, I don't think.
Yeah, we always say it all. We have a saying that we constantly say within our industry, and it is, that you have to wait for the harvest. You plant the seed, you wait for the harvest. Nothing pops up right away. And so that is something that it took me a minute to just truly let it sink in, is that you had to wait for the harvest. And obviously I'm seeing that, and you got to continue to plant seeds, just like a farmer. I love these analogies, but you got to continue to plant. You don't just grow one year's crop and then, try to live off that forever. You got to continue to plant seeds and obviously work it with the season. So that, understanding the value. Another one big that I guess one of the petty things that I think we all see in network marketing is time. You see them invest their time, and sometimes we get jealous. I always compare myself to a monkey all the time because I have the complexity of a monkey. I got a monkey, male dominant monkey personality, man. And so my wife, she'd be in her phone, she'd be doing her thing and her little network marketing thing. And this is one thing that, going back to how I work with her girls, I actually help train my wife's women how to handle their spouses, and where to come from. And so a big one for me was her being on her phone and me kind of having somewhat of a jealousy issue as far as, and I'm like, hey, because we'd be watching. It's always when people are watching TV. I get this. I ask guys all the time. They're like, "We're watching a show, and she's not even paying attention." She's like, "We want them to watch it too."
Right.
They like smack their phones. I used to take her phone and literally grab it and be like, "Hey, let me see this," and I'd be like, "Yeah, it's cool," and I just sling it across the room just for fun. I wouldn't break it. I just toss it, and she'd get so mad at me. So one day we kind of sat down and we talked to one another about what I had to be open to. So once again, I was using that monkey way of getting things done, and that's just getting frustrated, and getting mad, when really it works every time. If you actually express how you feel and expectations and meet them in the middle, you can always find balance. And that is something that we both need to work on, and I needed to work on balance with them. So I just told her, I always tell guys this or women all the time, that we have really quick, easy attention spans. And I'm not going to speak on all men, but a lot of men do. And that means if you turn to me and you give me 5 minutes of hyper-focused attention, 5 minutes, and that's all you need, and you tell me about your day, you talk to me about what I want to hear, you let me say whatever I got to say, within that 5 minutes, I'll get it all out, I guarantee it. And after that, I promise I probably won't want nothing to do with you again. Then I'm like, go back to what you're doing. It's a proof, it's an affirmation that once you give me that 5 minutes, I'll be like, okay. It's an affirmation that I'm important.
You
And
know
that
I exist. Yeah.
you
You
know I
still know I
exist. You know
exist.
that I am the
Yeah.
most important thing in your life, that I am still number one. A lot of men need to feel that way. And so
Sure.
I think that we struggle with that, but talking through it and then, giving that 5 minutes of hyper focus, like quick massage, talk to them, then it always works out well, and it works with me. So
Yeah, I think that's great. We've gone through the same thing, and I think that the having the conversation is more important than anything. I mean, you may not be on exactly the same page all the time, or you may not even get to the same page. But if at least you understand each other, and you know where you're coming from, and you know where she's coming from, and a big part, that was big for me too, and it was recognizing, I think, the time when they do it. That's where what I realized early on was, this is a lot of time, right? So she's on her phone to build and build and build, like you said, kind of sowing the seeds. But it was the time that she was doing it was whenever I got home from work, right? Or, but that's when she needs to be working the hardest, is because that's when people are on the phone, that's when they're on social. And it took me a while to realize that. And that's where, I would get frustrated with, she's on her phone still and it's 9:30 and we're sitting in bed and it's just like, whatever. But again, like you said, I could just hold that in and get mad about it, or I could say, hey, this is what this is what we're thinking. And so for a time, we put some parameters around, hey, I realize it, so there'll be some times when we try to put the phone away and just have less time. But then I also have to realize that there is, that's where her business. It's not like she's just playing around on social media and ignoring me. She's actually working and that's doing her job. It just happens to be at times whenever I'm not, may not be working myself. So we had to balance that whole thing. I think it does help, at least the same probably on your end, but it helps a little bit that I'm also self-employed. So knowing and kind of understanding that side of it, I think does help to realize that there is a lot of hard work that goes into running a business. It's not just because it's online, doesn't mean that it's not a business. And I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, diving in is a big one for me. What I'm doing right now, and just being a part of the social world and everything I've done before. Same thing with you. She's probably working her business right now as we speak.
I'm sure she is.
And so diving in, it's just like with my kids. I do the same thing. Like, rather than getting, like, every once in a while they'll play video games, and that's fine. I was a gamer when I was a kid. I still am a gamer. Yes,
Yeah.
my videos on my page.
I did see that today. Yeah, that's good.
Nice. Yeah. I play with them, and it's the same thing. And sometimes you kind of understand it more when you dive into it and try to help. And so sometimes if you socially try to interact and become a part of that business, it's another way of being able to truly understand them and seeing the work put in. Just like when I'm playing Mario with kids, I truly understand the work being put in to get through level 8 in Mario World.
That's a great point. It's funny because I have my son is sitting here in the room because he's waiting for me to get off of the live because he wants to finish a movie that we started watching earlier today. So it's the same deal. I mean, it's the investment of time. But again, he knows that I do this on a Sunday night, and so it's all that piece. And I think a great piece. I don't know if you've read, and I may have mentioned this in one of my lives here before, but the 5 Love Languages is an amazing book, and I think it's a wonderful mentality. Whether you're, looking at it from a Christian perspective or not, just the idea around that your spouse and you have a particular language that you speak that makes you feel most loved, right? So the idea, and again, the 5 Love Languages, highly recommended, huge, great book. It's many years old, but it's a great book. So the love languages are words of encouragement or words of affirmation, gifts, time, acts of service, and physical touch. So those are the 5. And most times spouses don't have the same one. So I think that's a big piece is recognizing what your spouse's love language is and how they best respond. And so for me, it's words of encouragement, words of affirmation. And so back to what you kind of said is sometimes I just need that, just give me that 5 minutes, or just make sure I know that you're, I'm here. And for her, it's acts of service. So for her, it's, do these things, do this stuff on this list, and provide that, check all the boxes so that I can see that's how you show me that you love me. And so I think that's great to understand in the business side too. And like you said, kind of working on using the strengths and not focusing on the weaknesses. And I think that's a whole kind of full circle kind of comes around and says, well, I understand this is how certain people respond. And like you said too earlier, understanding how other people are out there they respond in different ways. And so not having or not understanding that some people do like the words and the time, and some people do like getting gifts more, and so, you know, all that kind of stuff. So addressing and understanding that both on your spouse, but then also in the whole sales perspective is how do you talk to somebody, right? Some people are shorter with, you know, they just want to get to the point. Some people are more talkers like I am. And so it's, you know, how that all comes together and understanding that. And the same thing applies to your kids. My son, Ian, who's sitting here is a time. Doesn't matter what we're doing. He just wants to be with me. And so, you know, sitting down watching a YouTube video or sitting down watching a movie or whatever it is, it's just a matter of time. Where I've got another child who's all about the gifts. Just give me stuff. And that's how I see love.
Yeah,
so kind of went on a tangent there with the 5 Love, but it's a great book, great concept. And I think just to understand that is a huge deal that we recognized when we read through the book years ago.
You hit the nail on the head, man. I use that book a lot too, as far as I talk to people and I talk to women. I'll be doing a training for Cincinnati in the next, I don't know, 3-4 months. And we talk about that all the time as far as having love languages. Well, it's the same with your spouse in network marketing, that support language and how they react. Other spouses support each other different and respond differently in their way of support. And to give you an example, you know, and I try to tell people never compare spouses, because people do that all the time. They're like, and I tell that's the worst thing you can do, because people say, I've even had girls go on and talk to their spouses about my support and kind of how I flesh out my support for my wife. Right. And they always say to their spouses, which is like the #1 no, which is, you need to watch this guy. And
White team should be more like,
Yes. Yeah. Oh, it's the worst thing ever. I'm hated amongst thousands of spouses, by the way, because of this, because they're like, who's this guy? You know, it's back to that monkey dominance thing. Yeah. Like, who does this guy think he is? And immediately they dismiss me and her and everything else. So I try to tell them, I had a girl at one time, her spouse's support, you know, he wasn't vocal like I was, but it took her a while to realize that his form of support is what he would do is he would leave her alone, which is, and let her do whatever she wanted to do. And he would make her meals and serve them to her while she was doing lives, while she was doing her work, and that was his support language. And that to me is just as important as the way that I support my wife. Right. Because people got to realize that we're all different in the way that we support, just like love languages. Sometimes it's, you know, vocal and we're the mouth, and then others are the hands, or, you know, and so it's service. And so that husband was more of a service type of support language and less of the mouth, like maybe you and I are.
Yeah, that's great. And I know some husbands who are like, especially on social media, for example, right, they have a wife who just knocks it out of the park and just, you know, lives for this stuff, and then their husband is the most silent, you know, never either doesn't even have an account or, you know, just never, you know, so it's just not that's not his thing. But he is very supportive, and he may not look like it from the front end physically, you know, because the world doesn't see it, but there's a lot going on to allow or to enable and support that spouse to be able to do what she's doing. Yep. But a lot of times you don't see it. So I think that's also a big deal. It's not to, like you said, not to compare, which is great. And kind of the reason why I'm doing this whole other side of the selfie thing is to get a variety of people. And we've had folks from, you know, that have been involved for a longer time. We've been different types of businesses and have different levels of support, you know, some that may give more, some that may give less, some that may want to do more, but not sure what to do. And so a lot of it is just ideas. It's not to say that what you do is the only way to do it, or that what I'm doing is the only way to do it, but it's we're just trying to throw ideas out there and see, you know, to show what has worked for us, but figure out what works for you, and, you know, don't try to just copy somebody else, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, cool. Let's wrap up with a kind of a biggest lesson learned. I mean, what would you say if you had to kind of wrap it all into kind of one big thing? What would be your kind of, this is the biggest thing that I've learned over the last 3 years is with this involvement and what you've been doing here?
Oh man, biggest lesson learned. I thought about this for a while, and you know, to be honest with you, we've lightly touched base on pretty much the lessons learned throughout this entire conversation here, and that is patience. Obviously, is a huge key. Patience is a virtue. We hear that all the time. So patience and combined with collaboration. So don't be patient, but collaborate and don't be silent. That's my biggest lesson. As we all know, our spouses, our partners are going to be the largest catalyst in either our success or our decaying failure. And it's like that. That is the biggest. And I've seen this to a team because we have a team of thousands of girls,
right?
And I've met a lot of husbands and spouses and seen a lot of lives from all ends and every perspective, from doctors all the way to hairstylists. As far as the different ends of the spectrum of what we do and the type of personalities. And if I try to put this out there to people all the time, and I put it out to I talk to guys a lot, obviously, because we're in I'm in an industry which obviously is predominantly women and unique with my wife. And so I talk to the spouses, who are usually men, and you can plant psychological bombs in somebody's head, your spouse essentially, just by the words that you use. And that's something that I had to check myself on years ago, starting right out the gate, because I noticed that I was not giving her words of affirmation, for one. Being silent is never good. Vocally support them. No, don't just support them by saying, "Hey, baby, yeah, you can do whatever you want to do as long as it makes you happy. Get on out of here."
Yeah.
Vocally support them, and you're going to see them flourish. It's as simple as that. And psychological bombs, and I said this last live, and I'll say it again. If there's any men watching, you can really relate to this, but even women and probably can relate to this as well. I always use the analogy of the date night, or the out with the guys, out with the girls night, and what a psychological bomb can do, because we've all been through it. And that is something as simple as you're getting ready to go out, and you want to have a good time, and it's a night with the girls or it's a night with the guys, and the other one's staying at home, and you're getting ready to leave. And before you leave, two different scenarios can happen. First scenario is they're silent. They don't say anything to you at all. Yeah, whatever. Go on. Something like that.
Yeah.
Or, and you're like, what's wrong? Nothing. Just go. Whatever. And they give you that. And then you're like, what? Whatever. They might not even say what it is, or they might say what it is. And then you walk out the door. How are you operating the rest of the night? You're operating at about 60%, 50% all night long. You're pissed. You're just, the things aren't, you want to prove them. What is it? I don't have their support. And that psychological bomb that they threw right into your head literally makes you operate at 50%. Night is not as awesome. Things aren't as free. Everything's in your mind. Your head is just not where it needs to be. It's kind of the same with our business. And so let's say go scenario 2. They go, "Hey, babe, you have a great time. Call me when you want to call me, or just I'll see you when I see you. Have a good time."
Right.
What do? Man, you're high-fiving the guys or the girls, and you're getting out on town, and it's like you're on cloud 9, and you're operating at 110%. Night goes awesome. Life is great, right?
Yeah, that's
Business
really good.
is the same way, that if you put little things in, like, well, whatever, I don't care, or if they're on their phone and you give them the cold shoulder, or if they're trying to really express the way they feel about their goals to you, and you're like, yeah, sure, we'll see. You're planting psychological bombs that then start to make them operate at 60%, 50%, and they're not going to be able to. You're setting them up for failure, and you yourself don't know that you're doing that. So I learned a long time ago that the biggest lesson that I could do is verbally be very attentive to what I'm saying and what I'm setting them up for psychologically. And anytime you get into network marketing and anything you're dealing with, person-to-person interaction, your psyche is, and having it at 100% being positive, is everything.
Yeah.
So if you really want them to succeed, and you really want to succeed and flourish and share these successes and plant those seeds and reap that harvest, then make sure that you are positively at 100% and keeping them at 100%. And that's part of your job as being on the other side of the selfie.
That is awesome. Very, very good. A strong ending. That was really good.
Thanks.
Yeah, cool. So I think that's awesome. I think that's a good way to finish things up. And I appreciate you coming on and all the advice that was dropped. It was awesome. It was really good stuff. And
thanks.
I've been seeing, I still haven't mastered this whole live thing. So I know there's a ton of comments, a ton of reactions. We'll get to see that afterwards, and I'll try to reply and whatever.
I can't see anything, so people don't think I'm avoiding you. I don't even know this format. I don't know.
Yeah, totally different. So yeah, we're using this Be Live app. So we're not actually live inside Facebook. We're outside of Facebook. So I can see we've got like 65 comments. So that's a pretty good.
Nice. I hope they're all positive and they're like,
60.
"Shut up, man."
Yeah. Who does this guy think he is? Yeah, that's what most of them are saying. No, just
this
kidding.
guy's arrogant.
Yeah, right.
I don't see any comments, people.
Yeah, no, they're out there. So you jump on afterwards and throw in your thoughts. I do see Krystina. I see my wife has been on there, and now she's in. Maybe she wants to. Do you want to come pop in with your green and white face?
Pop in. I need to see you.
She's got some kind of mask on. Come on, real quick.
I love the mask.
It was like the mask from the movie.
Yes, she's a little green, a little white tonight. Yeah, so that's good stuff.
That is good stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming on and saying. So hopefully, a lot of the folks that were on here, if you're watching afterwards, drop a little hashtag replay thing. Give us as much love. Share this video around. I think as many husbands, spouses, significant others, fiancés, whatever you want to call them, that can watch this kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of good advice that came out of tonight. So hopefully people will share this and see it, and good stuff. So I really appreciate your time, Jesse. Thanks for coming out. And
thanks for having me.
I jokingly referred to this because I did it the first time, but I'm just going to say peace out from the other side of the selfie. Have a good night.
There you go.
See you, man. Thanks, bud.
Thank you.